Good evening. Welcome to the second half. Hey, we'll be quick. When ball games go into extra innings, half the people say, oh man, more baseball, and other people say, hey, free baseball. So welcome to free baseball. So my name is John Brunell. I'm the executive director of CCDC. I work with the people at table 17, and we want to thank you for the chance to be part of this downtown experience. Today we're going to talk about a multi-purpose stadium, and so I got a multi-purpose hat from Boise company lacrosseallstars.com. I want to thank them as well. So on April 23rd, 2010, we had the stadium summit. We had everyone we needed in the room. We had City of Boise, all the right departments, CCDC, Auditorium District, Boise State, Boise Public Schools, Boise Chamber, and the Boise Hawks. We thought we had everyone we needed, but something was missing. And we didn't have a developer, we didn't have an operator. Ladies and gentlemen, we have that, and he's here with us tonight. Give a warm Boise welcome to Chris Shane from Greenstone Properties. It's not a new conversation. In fact, Boise used to have a downtown stadium. It was called various things, including Braves Field. This slide is of Airway Park, which was where the Boise Pilots played before they transitioned to a single-A short season farm team for the Milwaukee Braves. One of the Boise Braves players, the best players, was a guy named Bob Uecker. And if you follow baseball or if you follow comedy, you know about Bob Uecker. He was one of the best Boise Braves players and one of the best baseball people to come out of here. And I think at the new stadium we need to honor him with a statue, probably in the back row, up high, away. Best seat in the house. That was one of his lines. So we need to honor our old sports heroes and the old timers from the past, no matter how old they are and no matter how immemorable their experiences were. Such as this guy who, before he started running the city of Boise, was running for touchdowns out on the football field. Ladies and gentlemen, number 31 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Mayor David Beater. I asked the mayor with this stadium conversation. Of course, I'm a lacrosse guy, and I know he's a football person, and we all saw the popularity of the Basque soccer friendly at Bronco Stadium. That was just incredible. Argy and her crew did an incredible job. What about baseball? What about the Basque connection to baseball? There just isn't any. And as the mayor does sometimes, he said, yeah, there is actually. And he handed me a list. And there's plenty of great Basque baseball all-stars. And on the list, Jake Arrieta from the Cubs, Josh Osich, pitches for the Giants currently, the late Ted Williams, who, if you follow baseball at all, you know that name, and of course the late Nick Yasursa, who was a friend of ours who was just a great guy. But then from there, the list got a little sketchy. Thought, well, Mayor, who is Ken Griffioga Jr.? I've never heard of Barry Bondacoa, and I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as Darryl Strawberry Ochoa. But then think got really fishy when I saw the name Yogi Ibarra at the end. I thought, well, he's the mayor, he's the boss, and what he says goes. I don't know if any of those players will have a chance to play at the new ballpark. If you grew up here like I did, that's Kmart in its new form. That's the corner of Shoreline and Americana. Unless you're new here, you might call it Americana, but we all call it Americana. And Chris Shane is going to help us make that happen. He was the guy who wasn't there 7 years ago, and he's here now, along with Mayor Beater, who I'm going to throw out the first pitch to the mayor and let him explain to us why this is good for Boise.
Thanks. Thank you, John. There we go. First of all, quickly, I think we have 4 council members here: Marianne Jordan, Elaine Clegg, Lauren McLean, and Scott Ludwig. Give them a hand, please. They do a great job. Always thank your council. Thanks, John, for digging up the picture. Did you see the glasses on that guy that was running the ball there? Jeez. I'll tell you one of the things, I spent a wasted youth at sports, so it was easy for me to try to head towards the stadium. But one of the earlier Downtown Business Association annual meetings, a fellow by the name of Chris Lineberger was there. And he gave a presentation about vibrant downtowns. And he's one of the great he's a professor and a developer in his own right, and he showed a number of pictures like we did today, and about 2/3 of them had stadiums in it. And so I buttonholed him afterwards. I said, does this mean that you really recommend that we go that direction? And he said, absolutely. It's part of the picture of a great downtown. So he brought empiricism and scholarship to all our loves for sport. And it wasn't just something that we wanted to see, but it's something that really worked and worked across the country. So that really compelled us forward, but we could not take anything else on until we expanded the convention center. That was absolutely our operating premise. Until that happens, we cannot get on to another project. And you're sitting in it right now. The expanded convention center, especially built the way it was with the bonding from CCDC. In fact, give John and all the CCDC folks and everybody that had a hand, the GBAD, Pat Rice, everybody that had a hand in making this happen. Because this had to happen before anything else could happen. And that was our premise. And here we are, and now we're ready to take this on. But like John said, we were missing Chris Shane. Now that piece is there, and we're primed to do it. And I think that's about as much history as we want to hear or have time for.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Mayor. And Chris, if you could fill us in a little bit on what you've done in other markets with this model and what you see for the downtown urban environment here in Boise.
See if this works. Thank you for having me. We're thrilled to be with you. You got sort of a great overview of urbanism. And specific to our project, what we've really talked about is the stadium being a catalyst. You know, what we're hopeful to do is to bring 200,000 to 300,000 people a year to come see baseball. We're hopeful to bring 200,000 to 300,000 people a year to come see soccer. If you couple that with a special events, and I couldn't have scripted the prior program any better. But what we're hopeful to do is to have major events. Probably, you know, not all of them will be major, and it'll be everything from starting and stopping the 10K to Easter egg hunts to all the pieces of the puzzle. But our hope is to have over 100 special events a year that'll generate another 100 to 200,000 people a year. So as a catalyst, you're talking about 500 to 800,000 people a year coming to this one spot. If we can do that, then all of a sudden you've got an amenity base that can survive just by virtue of the catalytic effect of all those people coming there. So if you've got restaurants, you've got fast casual, you've got all the retail services, and you've got a sufficient core for that, then all of a sudden people want to live there. If people are living there, then after that, these office users, and it was talked about earlier, but they're trying to recruit these millennials and all these kids. Well, everybody now wants a live, work, play environment where I can live here, I can walk to work, I can walk to the amenity base, and I can walk to entertainment. And so you've sort of got all the pieces of the puzzle in one spot. So when we talk about the catalyst, that's really what's happening. And so while we're a little bit unique and getting way too much credit here, but what we've done in other places is to marry the execution of sport, which in the prior examples have really been baseball, but the ability to execute the baseball side and couple that with a real estate execution side. So we're developers. My background was actually architecture and then development. We've predominantly been office building developers, but have built in a lot of cities around the country. Have done a good bit of retail. We're going to need some help on the residential, so I want to grab you on the heels of this. But what we've been able to do is to act as a master developer, couple the ability to commit the baseball and the sport, the soccer side to the equation, and execute and commit to execute and show to your mayor and your leadership financing in hand, equity commitments in hand, and have all that travel simultaneous with asking the city to put bonds in place. And, you know, without getting way too detailed, that's conceptually what we've done. When we were in Fort Wayne, Indiana, we found a mayor that said the greatest single catalyst to the revitalization of my downtown is going to be that baseball stadium, but more importantly, all the mixed-use development that'll follow it. So we did that in Fort Wayne. We did it downtown. In the prior stadium, never had more than 240,000 a year come see baseball, and it's never been under 400,000 since we opened the stadium, plus another 100,000 for special events, et cetera, et cetera. We just broke ground 90 days ago in North Augusta, South Carolina. We own the Augusta Green Jackets there. In the same thing, we're doing a 180-room hotel, 280 apartments closed on their land last week. We've got 2 office buildings, more residential, 60,000 feet of apartments, et cetera. So.
If folks want to jump online and explore a couple of your other projects, where would you recommend? Would it be Augusta?
Greenstone Properties is probably where the bulk of that is. It's mainly office buildings, but the mixed-use environments will be on that as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Mayor Beater, dealer's choice. Since it's running late, and I want to make sure you get to what you want to talk about.
No, Chris explained it. The stadium is the catalyst for the development that helps pay for the stadium. The virtuous cycle that this builds is what makes this all work. There'll be we anticipate some city capital in, some auditorium district capital in the mix. But that really is the magic that makes it happen, is the development that the stadium brings, helps pay for the stadium. And so we just couldn't be any more excited. But Chris did the first piece, without which we wouldn't be even talking about this, and that is to get St. Luke's to work with him to take their 11 acres, which they control in that area, and allow him to go forward with that option and allow us to make this deal. And when we first met, I said, God bless you, Chris, you know, institutions, cities, hospitals, states, they're tough. They're tough to negotiate with. They have boards of directors. They have a lot of people to have to get through, and he did it. And that's really why we're even standing here, is because we have that real estate to work and talk about. And if, you know, this project, this auditorium expansion, convention center expansion project, I mean, it took forever, and Phil Cushlan's here. Together we must have drawn 50 different options of this. It turned out better than we ever imagined. Hand of God or whatever all happened here. But if you were gonna site a stadium in the city of Boise, the Americana property is the absolute best place. And on top of that, to control that much real estate is really rare in a city, in an urban core as evolved as this one is. But we're not depending. It doesn't have to be this enormous catalyst. It just has to be a catalyst for that area. And even with all the vibrancy, all the great things that are going on, would lag a little bit still. It wouldn't get near the push that this is going to give it. So those are the makings of the right deal. I want to recognize Scott Ludwig, who speaks developer much better than we do, and he was able to work with Chris to bring the numbers and the whole idea forward to where now we can push off with the real estate possibilities and make the deal. So I can't say enough about that being the first step.
Great. Just one final question for either of you, or maybe both of you. What can people expect in terms of timeline? What are next steps, and what kind of path are we on?
Well, we do need a new district, a new CCDC district. We're in the throes of that right now. We hope to finish that long about the end of the year, or thereabouts. And then I'm going to give it to you, Chris, to talk about some of your timing.
You know, the governmental pieces are key. We're going to be moving forward with planning on both the real estate as well as, you know, the stadium pieces. The goal would be, you know, to be in a position that we could break ground 12 to 14 months from today. and we're probably looking at 16 months or thereabouts to build the stadium. Some pieces will take a little bit shorter than that, meaning the other development pieces, some will take a little bit longer. You know, that would put us in position to be open for the 2020 soccer season to start, and then baseball to follow.
Stay tuned.
I have one more quick question. I'm not John. John walked away. One more quick question. The location is certainly a gateway into downtown, but it's not the core. How will it relate from the location to the economic activity that's happening in the core already?
Well, I would beg to disagree with you. That is the core. That's the core of the downtown that we want to build. The downtown is from the Whitewater Park to St. Luke's to Boise State to 4th Street. That is what downtown is, and this is the core of it. So I really don't think there's any problem there, especially with access to the Greenbelt, to the connector. You know, we can walk out right here and be there in, you know, 7 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. So I think it's partly to expand what we think of as downtown, but it is the core, and it's the best piece of real estate possible there. Just witness Payette Brewing. Payette Brewing Company took a move forward, and they couldn't be any more pleased, and neither could we. So it really is in the core of downtown.
Good answer. Thank you very much. Absolutely. Mayor Beater, Chris Shane, thank you very much for being here. And thank you all for hanging with us. We talked a lot about talent retention today. This is the end of our program, but the bar is still open for just a few more minutes. But coming up on May 30th, the Chamber has a great conference. You want to be part of it? That's May 31st. And also, speaking of the Chamber, I just got done with a mentorship program through BeWise. And two of my mentees are here today, and I have to say I learned more from them than probably they learned from me. So if anybody is interested in being part of that program, the Chamber is looking for more mentors for the BY program. The Boise Young Professionals program through the Chamber is one of the largest in the country. And we talked so much today about the importance of keeping and retaining our great young talent. So thank you very much. The state of downtown Boise is healthy. I am happy to say and proud to be with you. We'll see you this time next year. Thanks.